Analysis. It is the ruin of a former human residential area. Large numbers of humans resided in such concrete and metal shelters. The structures were referred to by names such as apartment complex.
Over the last couple of years, PlatinumGames seems to have lost their touch. The recent cancellation of Scalebound and a spree of disappointing games like Star Fox Zero and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan made gamers somewhat skeptical about the studio's future. But with Nier Automata, PlatinumGames have brought back their exceptional and often over-the-top combat, and the results are captivating. The original Nier was something of a mixed bag, but by bringing PlatinumGames to spearhead the sequel, Square Enix has done wonders to the franchise. To begin with, you actually don't need to play the original Nier to get the hang of the story in Automata. The game's first hour begins rather slowly and is extremely frustrating because there's no save point during this period. But then, all of a sudden, the game picks itself from the graveyard of boredom and presents the player with a tale that has more twists and turns than a roller coaster ride. Without going into spoiler territory, aliens have defeated mankind, due to which humans have moved on to the moon, where they've developed androids to take down their enemies. Aliens, on the other hand, aren't exactly dumb. They've developed machines to counteract androids. Initially, the plot sounds like a script from a C-grade movie, but as I mentioned before, give it time, and you'll be surprised by the emotional depth the game presents. The story evolves constantly and is one that will make you laugh and cry, both at the same time. They often say that first impression is the last impression, but in case of Automata, this doesn't apply. One look at Automata and it's hard not to get discouraged by its brownish-yellowish graphical feel. It's a color palette that is often not used these days, but its post-apocalyptic setting ensures there's a thematic reason behind such a dark atmosphere. But that is not to say the game lacks any colors. You'll be treated to some amazing art style, unique enemies, and some impressive particle and lighting effects throughout the game. If there's any game that proves that you don't need to use high-end graphics tech to make the world beautiful, then Automata is one such title. But what makes the presentation stand out is the amazing soundtrack. If you think the original had a superb score, then you must take a listen to Automata. The music resonates so well with the on-screen action, whether it's a combat sequence, a cutscene, or just during general exploration. It's hard not to put down the controller for a minute and get lost into what is this generation's most amazing soundtrack. It wouldn't be a Platinum video game if it didn't have a fantastic combat system. After the amazing combat craftsmanship we witnessed in Platinum's previous offerings, such as Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance and Bayonetta, Nier Automata is bound to have excellent hack-and-slash gameplay, right? But then again, PlatinumGames dropped the ball with games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so some level of skepticism with Nier Automata's combat is expected. But let me assure you that combat in Automata actually manages to exceed the mechanics we've seen in Rising, and it possibly dethrones Bayonetta's. This is because the combat in Rising, as exceptional it was, felt a bit light. It never really felt as tight as the one in Automata. You can carry out a number of different combos, dodge attacks, and pull off special moves during specific situations. The animations are absolutely wonderful when the protagonist pulls them off. The enemy's reactions are on the spot, and combat style in general just feels so fluid and smooth overall. Nier Automata at its core is a role-playing game, but director Yoko Taro wasn't exactly afraid to mix up genres. At one moment the game becomes a top-down action title and in the other a side-scroller. During a battle you take hold of mech suits and fly around to take down a boss. The point is that despite being a RPG at its core, the transition to an altogether different playstyle doesn't affect the balance of the game, like it did in Castlevania Lords of Shadows 2 with those awful stealth sections. As I've mentioned before, Automata is an RPG at its core, and it has some really impressive mechanics that will make any fan of the genre jump into delight. The game utilizes a plug-in chip system that is used for customizing character abilities. Other than the name of the feature, which by the way suits the setting, allows players to accordingly customize their attack and defense parameters. Players will require chips, which can be collected or purchased from an in-game vendor. However, your storage system has limited capacity, so you can equip several plugins as long as there's space to accommodate them. Weapons too can be upgraded and the maximum level for each of them is 4. The pod's various parameters along with character attributes such as sprint speed, which allows the protagonist to move faster through the open world, can be improved. On a related note, I really like the idea that there is no strength meter attached to sprinting. In open world games I found the sprint meter to be a chore as it slows down exploration, so I'm glad that PlatinumGames did away with it. If there's anything wrong with Nier Automata, it has to be its performance issues. The game targets 60 FPS on both the PS4 and PS4 Pro, with better resolution support on the latter, but it's not a smooth 60 FPS experience. I often came across framerate drops, and in a fast-paced game like Automata, that is simply unacceptable. It's the game's most glaring flaw, and one that I hope gets fixed in a future patch. Nier Automata encourages multiple playthroughs to achieve the complete story of the game, and although this may sound painful, it really isn't. The game also has a number of side missions, and although they aren't as interesting as the main questline, we gave them a try to receive additional insight into the game's world and story. As it stands right now, Automata is a major improvement over the original in every way possible. It's a unique mesh of emotional storytelling and PlatinumGames' superb action-oriented combat style. Exceptional boss battles, engaging combat, high replay value, and the phenomenal music score make Automata a must-play game on the PlayStation 4. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.